Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. So today we're going to get into something that's really important for all businesses, but especially businesses with a physical location.
Okay.
And that is hospitality, and more specifically, how to build relationships with your guests that last, that will turn into loyalty and positive buzz. And you sent us this really cool blog post to discuss and deep dive into today.
Yeah.
By Clientele, odnos kostima. Kako gradite trajne odnos gostima i stvarati lojalnu klientelju.
I love that title.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't speak Croatian, that means guest relations, how to build lasting relationships with guests and create a loyal clientele. So let's unpack this thing.
It's remarkable how often businesses really just miss the mark on actually connecting. Like they just don't get it. And this blog post, I think, really, really nails it. So I'm excited to see what we come up with.
Yeah, me too. So they start off the post by emphasizing excellent service as the foundation.
Yeah.
And that kind of seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Like, how do you even put that into practice?
I think it goes beyond just like politeness. It's about creating an environment where your guests feel genuinely welcomed and appreciated and almost like they belong the moment they walk in.
Right.
And there's actually a pretty fascinating psychological aspect of this. When someone feels valued, it really taps into this innate human need for belonging. So, like, there's a very real power to that.
So it's like when you walk into your favorite restaurant or coffee shop or wherever, and they remember your name.
Yeah.
Or they remember your usual order.
Exactly.
It just brightens your day. It makes you feel seen.
Totally. Yeah.
And speaking of remembering details, the post goes on to really emphasize those little things that can make a big difference, like really paying attention.
Absolutely. Remembering a regular's name, their preferences, maybe even surprising them with a small gesture or something, those personalized touches that show you see your guests as individuals, not just like transactions walking in the door.
Right.
Did you know that studies have shown that even something as simple as addressing customers by name can increase their sense of loyalty by up to 20%?
Wow, 20%.
Just from saying their name.
Just from saying their name. That's huge.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, that is wild. That makes me realize that all those seemingly small things can really add up to something pretty impactful.
Absolutely.
So the post also talks about going beyond just like the surface level interactions, like just taking an order.
Yeah.
Or, checking somebody out and really authentically engaging with your guests.
Yeah.
And there's this one line that really caught my eye. It says, your guests can often give you great advice, but again, remember, yours is not the last word. So how do you balance like soliciting feedback from your guests while also staying true to your own vision for your business?
Yeah, it's a delicate dance for sure.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, actively seeking feedback from your guests shows them that you value their opinions and what they think you know.
Right.
But you also have to trust your own gut and stay true to what makes your business unique in the first place.
Right.
So it's really about finding that sweet spot where, you're open to suggestions without losing sight of your own North Star, so to speak.
Okay. But what about when you get conflicting feedback?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you filter through all the noise and decide, like, okay, this is actually going to help my business and this,
Yeah.
maybe isn't as relevant?
Well, I think having a clear understanding of your core values is crucial in those moments.
Okay.
When you receive a piece of feedback, you can ask yourself, like, okay, does this suggestion actually align with our values? Does it contribute to our overall goals? And if not, it might be something you acknowledge, but you don't necessarily have to implement it. Like, you can't please everyone. And trying to do so, I think, often dilutes what makes a business special in the first place.
That makes sense. So it's about being selective with the feedback you receive.
Totally.
Making sure it aligns with your vision and actually helps move you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Now, inevitably, things don't always go smoothly.
Yeah.
Mistakes happen, problems arise.
Of course.
How do you handle those situations where things go wrong?
This is where the concept of service recovery comes into play. And it's an area, I think, where businesses can really shine. So think about it. When a business goes above and beyond to fix a mistake that they made, it really shows the customer that they actually care. And in fact, studies have shown that a successful service recovery can actually lead to even increased customer loyalty.
Yeah, it's true. I've definitely had those experiences where a business has messed up,
Oh, yeah,
but then they've come back and done such a good job of fixing it
exactly.
that I actually become like a more loyal customer than I was before the problem happened.
Yeah, sometimes a problem can be a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, totally. So one effective framework for service recovery is called the HERD technique. And it's basically an acronym. So it stands for hear the customer, empathize with their situation, apologize, sincerely resolve the problem, and delight them with a gesture of goodwill.
Heard, heard. I love that. It's so simple
Right,
and easy to remember.
exactly.
Definitely going to keep that in mind. The blog post also mentions the importance of expressing gratitude to your guests, and they even gave this example of offering gourmet to guests in Samobor, Croatia.
Burme, it's a type of Croatian fortified wine, usually flavored with like herbs and spices and stuff like that. Offering local specialties like that can add just such a cool, unique, and memorable touch, you know?
Yeah, that's a really cool idea because it does two things, right?
Mm.
It gives your guests a taste of the local culture,
Yeah,
and it shows that you've put extra thought into their experience.
exactly. And, you know, it also plays into the whole concept of reciprocity.
Oh, yeah.
When you show your guests that you genuinely appreciate them,
Right.
it creates this positive loop, you know. They feel valued and they're much more likely to reciprocate with their loyalty.
And like positive reviews.
Totally. Positive reviews, recommendations, all that good stuff.
It makes sense. It's like when somebody does something nice for you,
Yeah,
you naturally want to do something nice in return.
exactly. Human connection, you know?
Yeah. So speaking of connection,
Yeah.
the post also points to social media and online platforms
Right?
as really valuable tools for nurturing those relationships beyond the physical space. Like,
Yeah.
I personally feel more connected to businesses that do a great job engaging with their audience online. Have you seen any good examples of that?
Oh, yeah. There's actually this local bakery I follow that just crushes it. They're constantly posting behind-the-scenes videos of, like, their bakers making their signature pastries, and they run contests, and they're incredibly responsive to comments and messages. Like, it really feels like you're a part of their world,
Right.
even though you might just be following them on Instagram.
Yeah, that's a really great example because it shows how even businesses that primarily operate in a physical space
Right.
can leverage online platforms to build those hyper connections.
Absolutely. It's all about finding ways to extend that welcoming atmosphere into the digital realm.
It all seems to come back to that sense of belonging, huh?
Yeah,
Like that feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself.
totally. When people feel that connection, their loyalty and advocacy really grow exponentially. It's really powerful.
Well, the post also emphasizes the importance of actively seeking feedback and using that feedback to constantly improve. And I feel like that's something that a lot of businesses shy away from.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's often a fear of, opening a can of worms. But here's the thing. Even negative feedback can be incredibly valuable if it's approached constructively, because it gives you an opportunity to identify areas where you can improve and better meet the needs of your guests.
It's like they say feedback is a gift.
Exactly. And, in today's data-driven world, feedback is even more crucial than ever because it provides those concrete insights into what your guests truly want.
So what are some effective ways for businesses to gather feedback? Like, should they just rely on online reviews?
Online reviews are definitely one avenue, but, they often represent a very small and sometimes skewed sample of the overall customer base. So I think diversifying your feedback channels is key.
Okay.
You can use surveys, you could do comment cards,
Mm-hmm.
social media polls, even just casual conversations with guests during their visit.
Right.
Each channel will provide a slightly different perspective, and it helps you to build a much more holistic understanding.
So it's about creating those multiple touch points
Exactly.
where guests can share their thoughts and feel heard.
Absolutely.
As we're talking about all this, I'm struck by how much emphasis the post puts on the human element.
Yeah.
It's not just about providing a service, it's about creating an experience.
Yeah, for sure. And it highlights this really important point about training your staff, not just in the technical aspects of the service that you're providing, but also in the art of guest relations.
Right.
And it even goes on to emphasize this link between employee satisfaction and guest satisfaction.
Which totally makes sense, because if your employees feel valued and empowered, then they're more likely to provide that exceptional service.
Of course, yeah.
But how do you translate all of this into that friend vibe that the post mentions? Like,
Yeah.
how do you create that welcoming, comfortable atmosphere where your guests feel like they belong?
I think it's all about building genuine rapport, like making your guests feel seen and heard and understood, you know,
Right.
going beyond just the transactional, creating a space where people feel comfortable being themselves. It's sort of like that feeling you get when you go to like your favorite local hangout spot, you know.
Yeah.
It's not just about the product or service. It's about the people and the atmosphere and the sense of community that they've created.
And it's about feeling welcomed and accepted for who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, speaking of making people feel something, the post has this one line that really stood out to me. It says, "Emotion is key. Connect with guests on an emotional level. Memories of a positive experience are often stronger than the services themselves." What are your thoughts on that?
That's where the magic happens. Our brains are wired to remember experiences that evoke strong emotions, both positive and negative. Think about some of your own, like, most vivid memories. They're probably tied to moments of intense joy or excitement or even sadness.
Right.
Emotions really color our experiences and make them stick.
It's true. I can still remember the feeling of like pure joy when I saw my favorite band live for the first time, or like the sense of accomplishment when I finished my first marathon.
Yeah,
Like those feelings are just as vivid as like the actual events themselves.
exactly. And businesses can leverage that. When you create an experience that triggers positive emotions, you're essentially creating a positive association with your brand in the customer's mind.
And those positive associations translate into loyalty, repeat business, and those enthusiastic word of mouth recommendations.
Yeah, right.
It's like building this positive feedback loop powered by good feelings.
Precisely tapping into that power of emotion is so crucial for creating lasting memories and forging those genuine connections. It's what sets truly exceptional businesses apart.
So much of what we've talked about seems to apply to businesses with a physical location, like a storefront.
Yeah.
What about businesses that operate primarily online? How can they cultivate these strong relationships with customers?
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge because you don't have that face-to-face interaction, right?
Right.
But I would argue that building those emotional connections is even more important for online businesses
Okay.
because they need to work harder to establish that rapport and that sense of trust.
Yeah, and I can see that the online businesses that I'm most loyal to are the ones that make me feel seen and appreciated even through a screen.
Exactly. It's all about finding creative ways to humanize that digital experience. Personalized emails, handwritten thank you notes, even just responding to messages promptly and thoughtfully, like those small touches can make a world of difference.
Right. It shows that there's a real person on the other side of the transaction.
Exactly.
Who cares about your experience?
It goes back to demonstrating that you value your customers as individuals, not just like numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right. The post also mentions the importance of offering something unique,
Yeah.
something that sets you apart from the competition.
Absolutely. That's where creativity and innovation come in. It's about identifying your niche, your unique strengths, and finding ways to really deliver on those consistently.
Right.
Think about that Burma example we were talking about earlier, like offering something special and unexpected that ties into your local culture or your unique story or something like that.
Right. And those little surprises and moments of delight, they really do make an experience memorable? It's like going to a concert and the band plays an encore, you know?
Yeah.
You weren't expecting it, but it just makes the whole night that much more special.
Precisely. It's about exceeding expectations and creating those wow moments that people will talk about and remember.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from providing excellent service and paying attention to detail to fostering open communication, expressing gratitude, crafting a unique experience, and leveraging online platforms. It seems like a lot for a business owner to juggle?
It can be.
Any advice for those who might be feeling a little overwhelmed?
Yeah, don't try to do everything at once. Start by focusing on one or two areas where you can make a really significant impact.
Okay.
Maybe it's improving your staff training or revamping your online presence or something. Consistent small steps can lead to really remarkable results over time.
That's reassuring. It's a good reminder that building lasting relationships is a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely. It's a commitment to continuous improvement and always striving to enhance that customer experience. It's about finding ways to make those connections stronger and more meaningful over time.
And remembering to stay true to your own core values throughout the process.
Authenticity is key. People can sense when you're being genuine, and that genuineness really resonates.
Let's circle back to that idea of cultivating a friend vibe.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, yet it can be so elusive in practice. What does that actually look like?
I think it's about creating an environment that's welcoming and inclusive, where people feel comfortable being themselves. Imagine how you interact with your own friends.
Yeah.
There's mutual respect, there's kindness, there's a genuine interest in their well-being. It's about bringing that same spirit of warmth and connection into your business.
So it's not about being overly familiar or trying too hard to be cool or something.
Exactly. It's about being authentically you and letting your personality shine through.
Right. People connect with people.
Exact.
The post also touched on the importance of empowering your staff.
Yes.
How can businesses do that effectively? What does it look like to have truly empowered employees?
It starts with building a culture of trust and respect. Give your employees the autonomy to make decisions, solve problems on the spot, go the extra mile for the customer. When you empower your staff, you're sending a clear message. We value your contributions. We trust your judgment.
And that creates a more positive and engaging work environment for everyone.
Exactly. And that positive energy will inevitably radiate outward to your customers.
Right.
Happy, engaged employees create happy, satisfied customers. It's a win-win situation.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is, the way you treat your employees, the way you interact with your customers. It all contributes to that overall experience.
And when all those elements align, the results can be truly transformative for your business.
So for all the business owners listening who are striving to create that exceptional customer experience, what's the one piece of advice you would leave them with?
Never underestimate the power of human connection. In a world that's becoming increasingly digital and automated, genuine human interactions are more valuable than ever.
I love that it's a simple truth, but so powerful. We all crave connection. And when businesses can tap into that human need, they create something truly special.
And they create something sustainable. When people feel genuinely connected to a business, they're far more likely to stick around for the long haul.
That's the ultimate goal, right?
Totally.
Loyal customers, positive word of mouth, and a thriving business built on a foundation of genuine human connection.
Exactly. And when you achieve that, it's not just about profits. It's about creating something meaningful, something that has a positive impact on the world.
Beautifully said. We've covered so much about building those strong and lasting relationships with guests. But before we move on, I want to go back to that idea of emotions driving memories.
Yeah,
I'm so fascinated by that. Can you tell me more about how that works?
sure.
It seems like something so intangible. How do emotions actually influence our memory?
Well, our brains are wired to prioritize experiences that trigger those strong emotions. Think about it this way. If everything we experience was stored with equal weight in our memories, we'd be completely overloaded,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So emotions help our brains to filter out what's important.
So it's like our brains are saying, hey, pay attention to this.
Yeah,
This feeling means this experience is significant.
exactly. And those emotionally charged memories are the ones that shape our perceptions and influence our future decisions. So for businesses, this means that crafting experiences that evoke positive emotions is key. You're essentially creating these positive associations with your brand.
It makes you think differently about the concept of customer service. It's not just about resolving issues or answering questions. It's about creating an emotional connection.
Precisely, it's about understanding that you're not just selling a product or a service. You're selling a feeling and experience.
That brings us back full circle to this idea of the friend vibe we were talking about earlier. It's about treating your customers like valued friends, anticipating their needs, and making them feel genuinely cared for.
Absolutely. And just like in any good friendship, there needs to be clear communication. The post emphasizes the importance of not just soliciting feedback, but actually using it to improve.
But isn't that scary for some businesses,
Uh,
opening themselves up to criticism like that?
of course, it can feel vulnerable, but remember, feedback, even the critical kind, is an opportunity to learn and grow. It shows your customers that you're listening and that you're committed to making their experience the best it can be.
So it's not enough to just have a suggestion box or send out a survey. You have to actively demonstrate that you're taking that feedback to heart.
Absolutely. It's about closing the loop, showing your customers that their voices are being heard and that their opinions are valued.
The post also mentioned the importance of involving all staff in guest relations, not just those on the front lines. How do you see that playing out in a successful business?
It's about creating a company culture where everyone understands that they play a role in the customer experience.
Right.
From the CEO to the person who cleans the floors, every single person should feel empowered to contribute to creating that positive and welcoming environment.
So it's about creating that sense of shared ownership and pride in the
Exactly.
experience you're delivering.
When everyone's on the same page, it creates a synergy that's truly powerful.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the psychology of connection to practical tips on creating memorable experiences as we wrap up this deep dive. Is there one key takeaway you hope our listener will walk away with?
If I had to choose just one, it would be this: never underestimate the power of human connection. In a world that's increasingly digital and impersonal, genuine human interaction is a differentiator, a competitive advantage, and quite frankly, a necessity.
It's a good reminder that at the end of the day, business is about people. It's about building relationships, fostering trust, and creating experiences that make people feel good.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I think we've officially unpacked this topic and surfaced some incredibly valuable insights. A huge thank you to our listener for providing such an interesting and thought-provoking post. We hope you found this deep dive insightful and maybe even a little inspiring.
And remember, the learning doesn't stop here. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep striving to create those exceptional experiences.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep. It seems like something so intangible, though. How do emotions actually influence our memory?
Well, our brains are wired to prioritize experiences that trigger strong emotions. Think about it this way. If everything we experienced was stored with equal weight in our memories, we would be completely overloaded.
Right.
So emotions help our brains to filter what's important.
So it's like our brains are saying, hey, pay attention to this. This feeling means this experience is significant.
Exactly. And those emotionally charged memories are the ones that really shape our perceptions and influence our future decisions. So for businesses, this means that crafting experiences that evoke those positive emotions is key. You're essentially creating those positive associations with your brand.
Right. And it makes you think differently about the concept of customer service. It's not just about resolving issues or answering questions, it's about creating an emotional connection.
Exactly. It's about understanding that you're not just selling a product or service, you're selling a feeling and experience.
Right. That brings us back full circle to this idea of the friend vibe that we were talking about earlier. It's about treating your customers like valued friends, anticipating their needs, and making them feel genuinely cared for.
Absolutely. And just like in any good friendship, there needs to be that clear communication. The post emphasizes the importance of not just soliciting feedback, but actually using it to improve.
But isn't that a little scary for some businesses, though, opening themselves up to criticism like that?
Of course, it can feel vulnerable, but remember, feedback, even the critical kind, is an opportunity to learn and grow. And it shows your customers that you're listening and that you're committed to making their experience the best that it can be.
So it's not enough to just have a suggestion box or send out a survey. You have to actively demonstrate that you're taking that feedback to heart.
Absolutely. It's about closing the loop, showing your customers that their voices are being heard and that their opinions are valued.
Right. And the post also mentioned the importance of involving all of your staff in guest relations, not just those on the front lines. How do you see that playing out in a successful business?
I think it's about creating a company culture where everyone understands that they play a role in the customer experience.
Right.
From the CEO to the person who cleans the floors, every single person should feel empowered to contribute to creating that positive and welcoming environment.
So it's about creating a sense of shared ownership and pride in the experience that you're delivering.
Exactly. When everyone's on the same thing, it creates a synergy that's truly powerful.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the psychology of connection to very practical tips on creating those memorable experiences for your guests as we wrap up this deep dive. Is there one key takeaway that you would want our listeners to walk away with?
If I had to choose just one, it would be this. Never underestimate the power of human connection in a world that's becoming increasingly digital, and impersonal, genuine human interaction is a differentiator. It's a competitive advantage, and quite frankly, I think it's a necessity.
It's a good reminder that at the end of the day, business is about people. It's about building relationships, fostering trust, and creating experiences that make people feel good.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we have officially unpacked this topic and surfaced some incredibly valuable insights. A huge thank you to our listener for sending in such an interesting and thought-provoking post.
Yeah, this was great.
We hope you found this deep dive insightful and maybe even a little inspiring.
And remember, the learning doesn't stop here. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep striving to create those exceptional experiences.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.